Actress Dame Patricia Routledge, beloved across generations and celebrated for her timeless portrayal of Hyacinth Bucket in the classic BBC sitcom Keeping Up Appearances, has died at the remarkable age of 96. The news, delivered by her agent, struck both fans and colleagues deeply, even as many acknowledged that she had lived a long, fruitful, and extraordinary life. Her passing, which came peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by love and comfort, marked the end of an era in British television and theatre. With her departure, the world has lost one of its most versatile performers, an actress whose presence could transform comedy into poetry, drama into truth, and even the simplest of roles into something unforgettable. Born Catherine Patricia Routledge on 17th of February 1929 in Tranmere, Cheshire, she grew up in a modest but close-knit family. From an early age, Patricia displayed a natural talent for performance, storytelling, and mimicry, often entertaining those around her with sharp observations and character voices. Her upbringing in a working-class environment shaped both her grounded personality and her deep understanding of the everyday people she would later so brilliantly portray on stage and screen. After attending Birkenhead High School and later Liverpool University, where she studied English, she gravitated towards theatre, driven by a passion for words, character, and human behavior. Her gift for blending wit with sensitivity became apparent very early on, and it did not take long for her to establish herself as a force in acting circles. Her early career was rooted in the theatre, particularly with the Liverpool Playhouse, and she eventually became one of the most respected stage actresses of her generation. Patricia Routledge's vocal strength, musicality, and commanding presence made her a natural fit for musical theatre and operetta, as well as serious drama. She worked extensively with the Royal Shakespeare Company, appearing in productions of Troilus and Cressida, The Comedy of Errors, and Measure for Measure, among others. What made her stand out was not only her vocal control and timing, but also her ability to embody vastly different characters, making each one feel real and distinct. She could slip seamlessly between comedy and tragedy, and while audiences adored her comic genius, her peers in theatre circles always reminded others that Routledge was, above all, an actress of depth and discipline. Despite her success on stage, Routledge eventually transitioned to television, a medium that would make her a household name. She appeared in Alan Bennett's iconic television monologues, such as A Woman of No Importance and A Lady of Letters, roles that highlighted her subtlety and emotional range. These performances earned her immense respect from critics, cementing her as not only a comic talent but also an actress capable of capturing the nuances of loneliness, longing, and the complexities of human behavior. Then came the role that would forever define her in the public's imagination. Hyacinth Bucket, the ever-pretentious, socially ambitious, and hilariously overbearing heroine of Keeping Up Appearances. Debuting in 1990, the sitcom quickly became one of the BBC's most successful comedies of the decade, running until 1995, and later airing endlessly in reruns across the globe. Hyacinth, with her insistence on pronouncing her surname as Bouquet rather than Bucket, became a caricature of English social climbing, but in Routledge's hands, she was never merely a cartoon. She was at once monstrous, absurd, and somehow strangely sympathetic, because Patricia infused her with depth, rhythm, and impeccable comic timing. Hyacinth's obsession with appearances, her desperate attempts to impress the vicar, her horror at her working-class relatives, and her over-the-top mannerisms were exaggerated enough to be funny, yet recognizable enough to resonate with audiences. People either saw a little bit of themselves in Hyacinth, or they knew someone in their lives who behaved just like her. And that was Routledge's genius. She created a character so specific and yet so universal that she became instantly iconic. "She's an absolute monster, and I enjoyed playing her enormously," Patricia once admitted, laughing as she reflected on the role that brought her global recognition. The sitcom's success propelled Routledge into the public spotlight in a way that her theatre work, however distinguished, had not. In 1991, she was voted the nation's most popular actress at the BBC's 60th Anniversary Awards, a testament to how much audiences loved her portrayal. Even after the series ended, Keeping Up Appearances remained a fixture of British culture, often ranked among the greatest sitcoms of all time. With Hyacinth Bucket firmly entrenched in the pantheon of television comedy characters, alongside Basil Fawlty, Del Boy, and Adina Monsoon. Yet Patricia Routledge never allowed herself to be confined by Hyacinth. After the sitcom, she took on the role of Hetty Wainthropp in the detective series Hetty Wainthropp Investigates, which aired from 1996 to 1998. Playing a determined middle-aged woman turned amateur sleuth, she demonstrated once again her ability to carry a show with charm, wit, and authenticity. Hetty, unlike Hyacinth, was down-to-earth, practical, and relatable, proving Routledge's versatility and reminding audiences that she was not limited to broad comedy. Her career continued to flourish across multiple mediums. On the stage, she earned critical acclaim for her work in musicals, winning a Tony Award in 1968 for her performance in Darling of the Day. She also received an Olivier Award nomination for her role in Leonard Bernstein's Candide. These achievements underscored her extraordinary range, as she could sing with operatic precision, act with Shakespearean gravitas, and make audiences roar with laughter through television comedy, all within the span of her career. In recognition of her contributions to drama and the arts, Patricia Routledge was made a Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire in 2017. It was a fitting honor for a woman who had dedicated decades of her life to enriching British culture. Those who knew her personally often described her as warm, intelligent, and deeply committed to her craft. Unlike her most famous character, she was modest and unpretentious, preferring a quiet, private life away from the spotlight. Upon the announcement of her death, tributes poured in from colleagues, fans, and institutions across the entertainment industry. The BBC's director of comedy praised her for having made millions laugh, leaving behind a legacy that will always be remembered with gratitude and admiration. Roy Clark, the creator of Keeping Up Appearances, shared a heartfelt statement in which he recalled how fortunate he felt to have his scripts brought to life by such an accomplished actor. Clark reflected on her extraordinary vocal abilities, noting that she used her voice as if it were an instrument, and he praised her skill as a fine physical clown. With those talents, he said, she elevated his writing to heights he could never have imagined. For audiences who grew up watching her, Patricia Routledge's passing is not just the loss of an actress, but the end of a connection to countless moments of joy, laughter, and reflection. Keeping Up Appearances continues to be broadcast around the world, ensuring that new generations will encounter Hyacinth's comic misadventures, even if they did not live through the era when the show first aired. Her performances in Alan Bennett's monologues, meanwhile, continue to be studied as masterclasses in acting, subtlety, and emotional truth. And her work in theater remains an inspiration to actors who aspire to versatility and longevity. Dame Patricia Routledge's life and career embody the rare kind of artistry that transcends time. She had the ability to make people laugh uncontrollably, then, in another moment, move them to tears. She could inhabit the absurdity of Hyacinth's pretensions with as much commitment as she gave to the emotional realism of a Bennett character or the soaring demands of a Broadway musical. That breadth is what made her not just a beloved television star, but one of the greatest performers Britain has ever produced. At 96, she had lived through nearly a century of cultural change, leaving behind a body of work that reflects resilience, intelligence, humor, and dedication. Her death may mark the end of her earthly presence, but her influence will live on in the laughter she inspired, the performances that continue to be admired, and the countless people she touched with her work. As one fan wrote in tribute, Hyacinth may have insisted on being called Bouquet, but Patricia Routledge's name will always be remembered exactly as it was, with respect, with admiration, and with love.